Richard Belzer is going to be with us until the end of the hour. I appreciate him coming on today. He is the author of Dead Wrong, Straight Facts on the Country's Most Controversial Cover-Ups, a bunch of false flags, assassinations. I'm going to tell you, it is a page-turner. We sell it at InfoWarsStore.com. This is a short segment, a long segment coming up where you can really break things down. But I saw him make a comment last week that if the election's close, he thinks there could be civil unrest. We're seeing preparations for that. I hope that's not the case. I'm trying to be nonpartisan, though I'm pro-gun, so people think I'm a right-winger. But I've seen Michael Moore put out videos that, you know, saying burn this effer down if Romney wins and all this. I mean, I'm wondering where all this is going. I'm not trying to get you in trouble with all your Hollywood friends. Who knows if Christopher Walken will come sit in your lap this time. That was hilarious. But Richard Belzer doesn't need to be introduced here. He plays Detective John Munch on Law & Order. And, of course, he's been in all the different TV shows, you name it, for decades, movies. And he is also been studying the New World Order and stuff for decades longer than I have been. And he divides his time between France and New York. And BelzerBook.com is a place where you can also find more about his book, or iBelz, IBELZ.com as well. Thanks for coming on. What do you make of what's happening in the election between the two choices we have, Mitt Romney and Obama, Richard?
Last time I was on your show, my book made the New York Times bestseller list, and I think it's directly attributable in part to your support of the book and me, and I greatly appreciate that.
Oh, you got to be kidding. I mean, this is a book I couldn't put down, buddy. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you, sir. And Chris says hello, by the way. He's working right now. But anyway, I think, as I've said before, the Republicans and the Democrats are like, it's like they're two. The president is a bus driver. You know, Obama drives the bus and Romney drives the bus. If we get on Romney's bus, you know, both buses are going off a cliff, in my view. I think Republicans maybe are going 90 miles an hour. Democrats are going 70, 80 miles an hour. It's you know, presidents are part-time workers. There's a much deeper thing going on here than just these two guys. And, I mean, I think they're both obvious. I mean, Obama brought in all the worst banking cats that caused the problem in the first place. So right away, that was suspicious. And also, we don't know really too much about Romney, so that's scary. We don't know what he's going to do once he gets in. We don't know what he's going to do. We have no idea what he's going to do. And as far as the gun issue, I was just in Washington recently addressing 1,000 police chiefs and police officers. I work for the National Police Memorial Museum. And the consensus is, as we all know, who are familiar with law enforcement, I mean, I play a cop, but I'm lucky to know a lot of people who actually are on the front lines. And they know that no one can take everyone's guns away. No one can, physically, first of all, it's impossible. Legally, it's impossible. The only thing a lot of the chiefs were saying was that there has to be more scrupulous background checks, which everyone agrees on, and that the limiting of certain types of military weapons for civilians. But that's it. It's not like anyone's going in and banging on the door and taking my gun. I mean, everyone has a right to have a gun. That's a basic American right.
Sure, but there's not many countries left where you can have guns. Look at Switzerland. I mean, you know, guns are a basic right of someone who's free. But, you know, your analogy, in some ways, Romney says he'll drive the bus off at 200 miles an hour with a war with Russia or China. But then in other areas, like bankrupting the country, Obama's going 200 miles an hour. I mean, really, it's 6 one ways, half a dozen another.
Arguably a photo finish, I have to agree, for different reasons.
Now we're going to go to break. Long segment coming up. I want to get into a whole host of issues with Richard Belzer here, but I want to get your take on civil unrest, specifically why you're thinking we might see.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, we're going to go to break. Richard Belzer is our guest. And again, we're going to have open phones tonight, 5 to midnight Central. Plus, I'll be in studio right here. But you'll need to go get the free audio and video feeds at Infowars.com.
While we fight to retain our liberty, while we fight to expose globalism, we have to realize we're talking about a very powerful combination of power.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the Info War in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. My personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones. Richard Belzer, movie and TV star, but also a guy that doesn't trust the New World Order. He's written the book Dead Wrong, Straight Facts on the country's most controversial cover-ups. Richard Belzer and David Wayne, afterward by Jesse Ventura, who will be joining us tomorrow. Okay, Richard, you're here with us now. Let's get into this because that made national news last week when you said, hey, you're worried about that there could be some civil unrest if the election's closer. What was your exact quote?
First of all, I'm not condoning or inciting anything. I'm saying if the election is very close, either way, and they find that in that state or that region there has been voter suppression or voter tampering, whatever you want to call it, I think that could be a problem. I wasn't by no means saying if so-and-so wins, there's going to be a riot. And that was the farthest thing from my mind. I'm just worried, as I was in 2004, about voting machines and how votes are counted. And it's been proven, in the last 4 years that it's very, very tricky. And the college students have hacked into voting machines. And so I think it's a concern for both sides. I think that's what I was saying. I certainly wasn't saying...
Oh, no, listen, if you thought we implied you were saying that, no. We're talking about Michael Moore, who I know you know, and I'm talking about some of these other people who are, it seems, trying to incite. I said in the first hour today, I think if it's close, either way, that's when you could see some problems. But look, the country's been in a depression for a while, and we're already seeing college students over tuition that's too expensive that they can't even get a job with, already protesting or demonstrating or rioting when cops get out of hand and then they get out of hand. We're already seeing skateboarders rioting, white skateboarders predominantly, when they don't, get to see the movie they wanted. And we are seeing predominantly black youth. There's some white folks and Hispanics as well who are saying they want to use this as an excuse to go out and go wild. I mean, that's kind of the new thing with social networks, which the CIA has used to stir it up in the Middle East. They like to stir it up here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up, and your previous guest is well-schooled in some of these things. But, for some reason, elements within our government foment dissension and foment contention among different groups for their own purposes. And to me, that's evil. To use some arm of government or elements within that arm to incite things that wouldn't normally be incited is a despicable, treasonous thing, I believe. And I think that's going on. I agree with you. I think a lot of things are exaggerated or provoked. We know very well from history that a lot of FBI agents infiltrated the civil rights movement and incited violence, whereas many people in the civil rights movement were in fact nonviolent, but were perceived as violent because the FBI instigated violence. So the government is not above making groups looking worse than they are, or making groups more contentious than they would normally be. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. And you know who taught us all that, of course, is all the, the rat line and the Operation Paperclip. We brought so many Nazis into this country to teach us about psychological warfare under the guise of using their scientific knowledge, for rocketry and stuff. A lot of those guys murdered people and were...
Yeah, they brought 28,000 high-level Nazis in to basically, because they were the really cool bad guys for the intelligence agencies in England and wherever else. Oh, like Darth Vader's cool, or Joseph Mengele, monsters, and they put him in everywhere. Expanding on this, though, here's some of the headlines at Infowars.com, some of the breaking news. Reports of voting machine problems, vote flipping begin to pour in. Steve Watson has an article, and there's photos and snapshots people are putting up. And I know people that have had problems here in Austin who are savvy when it comes to computers. Also, we've got an InfoWars election poll up there. We also have video of voting machine flipping a vote for Obama, selects Romney instead. There's video of votes for Romney flipping to Obama. Just a lot of key information up at prisonplanet.com.
Yeah. The American people, how can the American people trust this system? This is, they say this is an important election. And part of the reason is the technology of voting. And first of all, they should totally get rid of the Electoral College. Someone could win by 50,000 votes and then not win the election is insane. There should be, direct one man, one woman, one vote, first of all. And voting should be expanded. It shouldn't just be on Tuesday. It should be like a week. I mean, everyone should vote. And the voter suppression is, that's a really serious, who's ever doing it, that gets to the bottom of some of the uglier aspects. This is an open society and everyone has a voice. And we may disagree, but, at the end of the day, 20, 30, 40 years ago, everyone from both sides of the aisle would get together over a drink somewhere and cut up legislation in a gentlemanly way, and then go to war again the next day on the Senate or Congress floor. That's over. And that's, it's not good, Alex. It's not good.
Well, we got front row seats to whatever's going to happen. Again, people get confused by my position on this. More and more, there is election fraud. It's been proven over and over again by both parties. In Europe and area, more and more of our electronic black box systems are being exported, and we're seeing a fraud over there. But I'm saying people should vote, especially locally, so that you can prove the fraud. But when it comes to a Romney-Obama, where both are bought and paid for by the same Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan interest,
right.
I mean, I've got to be honest, Richard. I'm not voting for either one of them just because, I know I'd be a chump.
Are you going to vote?
Pardon me?
Are you going to vote for someone?
Well, again, I was going to say, where we know it's a total fraud, like Travis County, what's the point? I mean, I've proven, the state elections board has admitted when I'm there challenging it, that, okay, yeah, there was fraud in this election in 1998, but we're still going to certify it. So I'm still thinking about that right now. But the point I'm getting at here is, Richard, is that I'm not saying we shouldn't vote, but why do we get 60% turning out for a presidential race, but only 8% locally? That's where you can really find real candidates. You can even run yourself.
Yeah, that's a very good point. People forget about down ticket and the other races. 90 million Americans aren't going to vote in this election. That's astounding. Black helicopters keep going by my apartment. It's not that I'm crazy, but I swear, there's no markings on them. I photographed them. I live on the Hudson River, Alex. And I take a lot of photos of strange things, but I swear in the last few days, there's been some serious black, matte colored, no markings, and I have a good camera. I can zoom in and see markings because I photograph the ships that go by and stuff.
Now, Richard, black helicopters don't exist, even though they have urban warfare drills all over the country terrorizing people. You didn't see that. Everything's fine.
No, I'm delusional. They try to marginalize us, Alex. But you know what? You said something before about your magazine, which made me realize something I've said before. People ask me why. I'm an actor. I'm comfortable. Why? I feel because of my celebrity, and I think you feel this too, that we have a civic responsibility to get information out, not just do what we do, which is what we want to do, but also because we have a voice. That we're town criers in a humble way, but so I respect.
No, exactly. I would rather go jump in a fire ant bed, to be quite honest, than sit here and even have to do this research every day. I mean, it's intriguing, it's fun to break stories at one level, but I mean, I'll be honest. 15 years ago, I had a lot bigger ego. Because it was fun to become somebody, but
Sure.
but once you've become somebody like yourself, a movie and TV star, myself, in the media, well known. Then it actually becomes a negative in many ways unless you use it for good. Now, some people who get celebrity, go into the egomaniac realm and then destroy themselves. But I almost miss my ego. I come off as somebody who has a big ego, but it's really just aggression and anger and things like that. It's more like a rhinoceros. But I got to be honest, I wish I had some of that ego where I got off on being a big man I used to have. Because let me tell you, that's got some energy behind it. So I'm going to be honest. John Lennon wanted to lose his ego. I'm trying to find mine, Richard.
Well, no, I think your ego got you to where you are. So it's more enlightenment. You're evolving. You're not devolving, in my view.
I know, but I mean, there was some relish in when I hadn't had success getting it, and now that's.
Nothing better than getting, in front of a line in a restaurant. That's why I like to be a celebrity.
Exactly. That's about one of the fringe benefits. What about when people buy you lunch, though? That happens almost everywhere I go now, and I kind of don't like it. I'm like, well, thank you, but I'd like to buy my own lunch.
Or they send me things, and where were they when I needed it is what I say usually.
Exactly. But I mean, side issue, the reason I get into celebrity here with you is because so many people that don't have celebrity, I mean, I'm sure you've seen, because I have a small celebrity compared to a lot of movie stars and people, but so many people, like I was talking to a famous movie star and they were saying, yeah, you ought to see Bill Clinton, Al Gore groveling on, a 6-hour flight to Hawaii with me. Celebrity does strange things to people. And the point is that the power of that Madison Avenue uses that to make people who even have monetary or civic success or a successful family, which is the greatest success, to be, healthy and happy and nurtured. Right. People think they're missing something because they're not a celebrity, and they really don't understand that I've been there, I've done it, it isn't jack crap. I mean, do you agree with that statement?
I totally agree. The difference between the top and the bottom, the only difference is the food's better at the top. But everybody's the same, personalities, and everybody reveals themselves for who they are at every level of society. And no, I agree. I totally agree. But, what happened, what I found was, since celebrities or people who make it, my feeling is the bigger you are, the more magnanimous you should be. I know people who have made it and then become meaner and greedier, and it's like, that really perplexes me. It's like, why not? How much do you need, and why can't you share? And, anyway, but that's a whole other story.
Well, look at Lance Armstrong. Look at his fall.
Well, that's a tragic, baffling story, isn't it?
Who do you think's going to win tomorrow?
Well, here's why I think Obama's going to win, and I think it's because of women. I think more women will vote. In 2008, 21 million single, low information voters, women, did not vote. And I think the perceived attack by some on the right of women's health issues is galvanizing more women than a lot of people realize, women that aren't being polled, for instance. And I also believe a lot of Republican women, whatever they tell their husbands, are also kind of threatened by this imposition upon what choices they can make in their health. So I think it'll boil down to women winning for Obama. That's what I predict.
Well, here's my deal. Look, with abortion, I know it's always gone on in every culture. I understand there's medical issues, things like that, but abortion
and that, prenatal.
But I mean, here's the thing: abortion is directed from the top to reduce the population. It is eugenics based. I want the people at the top who are for abortion to be honest about it, that it's about population reduction and about a hatred of humanity.
No, I think that I agree with you. In the 20s and 30s, some very wealthy families were really pushing eugenics, and very few people know, I'm sure you know, the Nazis got the idea of eugenics from us.
Yeah.
So, we're nothing to be proud of. But I disagree, Alex. I don't think everyone who is for birth control and prenatal counseling is cognizant even of...
Oh, no. I think 95% of people aren't. And I'm going to agree that they're not doing it because they want to kill people, but I've been around globalists and their minions, and believe me, they want to kill minorities. That's what abortion's really all about.
Well, there's a term that was used by the CIA scientist that was said by a Nazi scientist. The term, you've heard it, I'm sure, useless eaters.
Yes.
That's very much, that mentality is very much around. And you touched on something in your last segment about pedophilia, which is a subject that is incredibly difficult for us to talk about because we're parents. But I was writing another book years ago about JFK.
Hey, I tell you what, we got to go to break. We're going to come right back, and we're going to get into this with Richard Belzer. Stay with us. With more election coverage coming up.
I'm President Barack Barry Obama, and you're watching continual coverage of the 2012 presidential election here on Infowars.com.
Insider billionaire investors like George Soros and John Paulson have recently made massive moves into gold, purchasing what Bloomberg News described as gold hoards. Soros alone doubled his holdings in a single day. Russia's Vladimir Putin has doubled down on gold, increasing the country's holdings by over 100%. With $1.8 trillion under management, the bond king Bill Gross, the world's preeminent bond fund manager at PIMCO, has warned investors of the dangers of QE3 and inflation. And what's he betting on? You guessed it, gold. Friends, this is Alex Jones for MidasResources.com. For more than 15 years, I have exclusively used Midas Resources for all my precious metal needs. Whether it's bullion or collectibles you're looking for, Midas Resources is simply the best. I own my gold as a hedge against inflation. This Federal Reserve fiat currency could go the way of the Deutschmark and the Weimar Republic anytime. In these historically dangerous times, it makes sense to physically hold gold and silver. Midas already has some of the best deals in the industry. But if you give them a call and mention the radio special, they will give you a list of the day's super specials. Midas brokers are standing by to answer all your questions at 800-686-2237. They also have a lot of informative free literature explaining the opportunities and risk of holding precious metals. They are ready to answer your questions at 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237. Bob Dylan predicts Obama in a landslide. Speaking of Bob Dylan, there's Bob Dylan right there. Who's going to take away their license to kill? You got interrupted by the break. Richard Belzer, author of Dead Wrong, New York Times bestseller, available at Infowars.com, is with us. When this main radio broadcast ends and your local stations continue the coverage, that's awesome. Spread the word about them. Support them. Our local stations are across the country, over 130 plus affiliates right now. In fact, it's even more than that. We're getting all the numbers. Very exciting that the truth's starting to get out and people are hungry for it. It shows that no army can stop an idea whose time has come. Stations are welcome to grab any snippets for their news or their shows that are coming up from 5 to past midnight tonight with myself, Gerald Celente, Max Kaiser, Wayne Madsen, Paul Craig Roberts, Lou Rockwell, Nomi Prinz, Webster Tarpley, and other surprise guests. And we're going to open the phones up for the election fraud news. It's pouring in from all sides. Obama being flipped to Romney, Romney being flipped to Obama, people knocking down Republican signs. I mean, it is just bedlam. It's all at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. But the video feeds and audio feeds are there for everybody that wants to be able to follow that. You'll be able to listen to the iPhone apps as well and listen to the audio of the video. Now, going back to Richard Belzer, you were getting into the pedophile issue that I was covering with David Icke that's blowing up here in the U.S. and England right now, all over government and universities and things, a cult of it. You were talking about you were writing another book. Go ahead. That's where you left off.
Yes, thank you, Alex. Years ago, I was writing a book, and there was one thing I left out of the book that I was afraid to put in because it was about a bank, a front bank of the CIA that was also used to traffic children for elites to have their way with. And it was just such an amazing story at the time. I was researching this in the 90s.
Was that the Finders out of D.C.?
The Franklin Bank, I think it was.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, unbelievable.
But I was a little afraid of it then. But then over the last 14 years or 15 years, as more and more evidence is coming out that at the highest levels of government and certain elements of NATO, there's this weird child thing going on that is, you couldn't write it. You couldn't make it up. It's so disturbing and true. There are some researchers who some believe have lost their lives for delving into that story.
No, you're right. You have courage even talking about it. I mean, this BBC reporter that now, has died and hundreds of people are coming out and they're confirming it. He would go around bragging about it to reporters, this Savelle guy, and he looks like a textbook demon.
Is he the one that was a host that got caught for years of
Yes.
pedophilia?
Yes.
He would brag about it in England, you mean?
Yeah, it turns out he was bragging to reporters about it, but they were scared to report it. I mean, he was saying, I'm above the law. These children are my little slaves, stuff like that.
Oh, my Lord. Well, this is going to go right up to the royal family then. Because that guy was close to the royal family.
Yeah, he was inside of it.
So there's some dark... Well, anyway, this royal family, they're not even English. They're Hanovers. They're Germans.
Who are really Transylvanians.
Yeah, well, I'm Transylvanian, so watch out. Anyway.
Really? You're really Transylvanian?
My grandfather was from Romania. My grandmother was from Russia.
But you're not related to Dracula. Nothing wrong. It's not bad to be from Romania. We're talking about... No, they're related to Dracula.
You mean the Count who...
Yeah, the bad guy. We're not saying Romanians are bad.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yes, Vlad the Impaler. I'm not kidding. Look up Prince Charles, Vlad the Impaler. He's actually moved into the castle. Richard Belzer, amazing. We'll get updates from you in the next few days. I want to get your take post-election. Folks, get the free streams, Infowars.com. Thank you, Richard Belzer.